It happens everywhere, in schools, in businesses, in government, and yes, even at home. Hi, I'm Tom Simplot, and in this program we'll examine this human trait, its actions, its consequences, and possible solutions to this damaging social act. Please join me now for this presentation of bullying, the schoolyard, and beyond.
It's something that is often unnoticed, off the radar, and yet has deep impact on many children.
I don't think there's any part of a child that isn't affected in a negative way by bullying.
If somebody's bullying me, they taught us to go to the teacher and tell them what happened.
We didn't find out about it until about the end of the school year because the teachers hadn't informed us.
Sometimes people who are being bullied end up then later bullying themselves.
So as the new generations transition into their working adult lives, if there's more of that, if it's more prevalent, then us operating businesses may be faced with bringing in more people that have grown up with that, either by being bullied or they've been the bully. And I think that it's pretty important that people understand it's just not acceptable in the workplace.
You're really looking at their long-term outcome in life, and it's not a good one if you have a child who is a bully.
Professionalism many times is defined by trying to strive for different objectives. Good leaders, good managers oftentimes understand there are some people that have to be driven a little bit harder than others. But when it crosses the boundaries of using power to dominate as opposed to getting objectives accomplished, that's where bullying starts to come into play.
1 in 3 children indicate that they have been bullied. I think the root of this issue really comes down to relationships and kids not learning, not modeling appropriate ways to interact with other human beings. And lots of times that's taking place within their own families. Maybe they're actually being bullied at home.
It's up to the teacher to create a climate of safety so that when a child has a question, they feel confident that they can ask it without the risk of being ridiculed or bullied.
Several of my friends are involved with the school systems, the professional associates, and what we've seen is that one of the things that was cut was the school counselors. And not just guidance counselors, but they might have had an actual psychologist, or they might have had social workers who were on staff. Those positions were cut early on. Then as additional cuts happened, then your classroom sizes grew larger. Now, whether or not people learn well in classrooms, larger classrooms, to me is a different topic. But what we do see is it's easier for someone to bully someone in a large classroom where the teacher can't see that. So they're just not able to respond. Any of your additional resources, you formerly would have maybe 5 or 10 front office people, and maybe that child would go up and talk with someone in the front office. Well, now you're down to just the one secretary. So it certainly has been an issue.
Giovanni finally told us what was going on. He was having a hard time with his academics, which is not him normally. He usually is really good at his academics. And he started suffering in his grades.
I think the moment when you have teachers, for example, look the other way or not address when students even laugh at one another when something takes place, that will turn down the line to situations of bullying.
The school wasn't taking any action about what was happening at school, so we ended up transferring him. We
have expectations for students, everything from how what their engagement should look like in the classroom, their speech, their comportment, to the way that they're walking from one class to the next, to even how they play with one another on the playground. And so our faculty and staff know these expectations, and we spend time weekly discussing whenever we see breakdowns in either relationships between students, if we see cliques or groups forming that might have a problematic nature to them, where one is attempting to have superiority over another. And as a staff, we address that carefully, and we talk about how all of us on board can make sure that, again, each child is being treated with respect by all, and that they're growing in a safe, loving environment.
Giovanni started showing a great improvement in attitude and confidence in his academics. He was doing his homework. Before he started hiding his homework and not wanting to do it and not feeling like he was capable of doing anything on his own because his confidence level had dropped drastically. And when he transferred to the new school, he was more apt to do his homework and to show us that he was excited about, Mom, I'm doing a good job, I'm getting good grades, I aced my spelling test, things like that. So it definitely improved his attitude and his academics when we transferred him. And the school that he goes to now has no tolerance for bullying, so it's something that if something does happen, the parents are aware of it right away.
Bullies certainly aren't going to tell anyone that there's a bullying incident going on, and victims are not generally going to tell anyone either because they're oftentimes embarrassed by what is going on.
Bullying is pure destruction. It hurts physically, it hurts emotionally, it hurts academically.
It began in around the 4th grade, and then it just got worse and worse every grade. And in 6th grade, I remember going home, going to the nurse, telling her that I was sick and I wanted to go home because I just wanted to get out of the school environment because I was being bullied. So it went down to where I didn't want to be at school.
No, I do not think size matters when it comes to bullying. Myself, I was a very small, skinny little kid, and I would pick on the biggest person I could just to get that dominance. So it does not matter whatsoever what size is.
Girls are much more verbal in the ways that they bully and much more manipulative in their activities. They'll sabotage other girls and engage in what some would call kind of mean girl behavior.
Hey, Carol, please see your candy. Well, I only have a little bit left. Well, I'm gonna talk to Zella to beat you up.
From my experience, I mean, we talk a lot about with people who do bullying that there's that power and control aspect.
Court, babe, can we talk?
Yeah, just...
No, like right now. What was that?
What are you talking about? What's your problem?
His arm was all around you. He's right up next to you.
We're just looking at his phone.
His phone, right? So you just saddle up right next to him? Friends don't get up that close to each other. He was checking you out.
I promise. I wouldn't do that to you.
That's really great. It looks really cute. It's fun. It's awesome. What have I told you about this? What have I told you about staying away from guys like that?
I'm sorry. He's just...
You're not sorry. We're leaving. Come on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And we also get into the talk about self-esteem. Well, myself, I was trained a little bit differently on self-esteem, that we sometimes will say, well, those folks are ones who have low self-esteem. But the reality of it is they tend to have high self-esteem and they hold themselves at a higher level than the people they're bullying.
I had everyone in my school, my playground, my neighborhood just afraid of me, just afraid to come around me. Knowing that I had that fear instilled in them, that I would jump at the opportunity to beat them up, pull their hair, do anything I could to hurt them, and that they would run away at the sight of me. That's all I needed to know, that I was a bully.
Their needs and their wants and desires need to come first. So that's what kind of allows them to do the actions they do. And so that's kind of the thing that I've seen is certainly the power and control, but just how they regard themselves in comparison to the rest of the people around them.
When I was bullied, it made me feel really helpless inside, I didn't know who to turn to. I didn't want to go to parents or teachers because I felt like I was going to be called a snitch. It really did make me feel helpless, and I didn't feel that I had a purpose. At first, I didn't really show them anything, but once I started coming home, pretending like I was sick just to go home, then they knew something was wrong. Coincidentally, at the same time, my dad was cleaning out the garage and he found boxing gloves, which gave him the idea to put me in boxing. My confidence started raising after being in boxing because I had a separate life from school that I could, it got my mind completely off of school and what was going on at school. And I started making friends at the gym, and I started getting better at the gym, which gave me so much self-confidence, and that's when I knew I could be something. I can defend myself if I had to. So that gave me a lot of self-confidence, knowing that I could do something if I had to. But that didn't mean I was going to do anything, you know, but just knowing that I could do something about it gave me a self-confidence because I knew I could protect myself and defend myself.
The Phoenix Block Watch Advisory Board is pleased to invite Ariel Irez Mendez from Maryville Precinct as our newest member on Tuesday, April 22nd, 2014. Ariel got into boxing 6 years ago with the love and support of her family. She is an inspiration to all those who have been bullied and is now the second-ranked boxer in her weight class in the country. Ariel has proved and continues to prove that with inner strength, encouragement, and passion, there are no limits to what you can accomplish. We are proud of her and will continue to watch her as she reaches for the stars.
I think the biggest message we need to give to victims who are trying to protect themselves is the worst thing you can do is to get in trouble yourself by being physical with a bully, because then you're in as much trouble really as they are, and you really shouldn't be. But the number one thing we tell parents who are trying to help children through an incidence of bullying is to really be calmly assertive when they're dealing with a bully. The bully's objective is to get a big reaction from the victim. And so we ask victims to be calmly assertive with their bully by telling them, I know exactly what you're doing, this behavior is going to stop, and if you don't stop, I'm going to get an adult. And just leave it at that and walk away. It may be that the bully doesn't let them walk away and that they do get physical with them, but we ask victims to walk away and not to put themselves into harm's way. Instagram, Facebook, all of these things, it's changed for the worse.
When I was growing up, we didn't have social media. There wasn't that extended day bullying opportunity that students face now.
Part of the challenge with bullying these days, and it's saddening with the ways it's growing, is that the reach of bullying can be so much greater, so much more pervasive now with social media. You can have a student who is being bullied, at school, going home to what may used to be a safe haven, but now through the various medias that are around him can continue to receive texts or posts, etc., that continue that attack upon them. And it's something that we have to be aware of as we fight this issue, that there are more pieces to deal with in the matter.
Check it. You have to do it. You have to do it. No. You have to do it. Come on. Let you do it. He's not gonna like that. Come on, man.
They seem to hit the part of us that is most sensitive to us already, whether it's weight issues or whether it's my intelligence or my looks, anything like that.
There's a skill to disagreeing appropriately. There's a skill to giving criticism. There's a skill to accepting criticism.
The biggest way to decrease bullying in schools is to really empower bystanders. Bystanders are kids that are not bullies and they're not victims, but they see it going on.
You're not gonna help me with my paper? No. You're not gonna help me with my paper?
Let me
huh?
go. No.
Huh?
I'm sorry. Please.
You remember what happened last time?
Please.
Remember what happened last time?
Stop.
Huh?
Stop. No.
Why?
I don't want.
Are you gonna help me?
No. No. Just let me go.
Hey, everybody looking right now. There's a camera right there, and you guys just walked away from a guy getting brutally beat, and you guys did nothing to help him. to stop bullying in America, it would be really sincere and kind of you guys to try to do something to stop something like that at hand, instead of just walking away and acting like blind victims to something that's going on. I'm done with this video, yo. This is a joke.
I think if anyone sees bullying happening, they should report it right away. And if, if they don't want to do anything about it, they should report it right away, because they don't know how the other person's feeling. I mean, it's already bad enough that they're watching it. They don't know how the other person's feeling and what they're experiencing inside.
I think when we initially find out that our children are being bullied as a parent, we get defensive because that's our baby. And we want to know who does it so that we can deal with their parents. But unfortunately, with the school not letting us know that it's happening, we don't even have the option to sit down and talk to the parents, because the parents of the child that is bullying should know just as much as what is going on as the parents of the other children that are being bullied.
What happens is when we're doing the right things and doing positive things, we get the feedback, we continue to do those positive things. On the other side is, sometimes there's a payback, like we were talking about earlier, for a person to be bullying, is they got what they wanted. So now they're no longer concerned. The feedback they're getting is that they're always getting what they want. So that's giving them permission. So it is actually a learned behavior. A lot of the bullying is strictly learned behavior. So if you can learn a behavior, if you can learn how to bully people or force situations through anger or through manipulation or negotiation, however you want to call that, then you can unlearn that behavior. You can learn more pro-social, more pro-human skills.
I'm not sure that society understands that taking the time to set up that climate and classroom culture of safety and risk-taking is every bit as important to student learning as meeting objectives.
There's something we can do about it, and I think we have to, because as part of us taking care of children, I know for me personally, my own children in our school, it's something that every child deserves, to be treated with respect, with dignity, and it's something that we as adults, as leaders in this community, in this culture, need to take it upon ourselves to enforce that every child is treated with respect, with dignity.
There is a researcher named Maslow who has defined certain steps in a hierarchy of human need. Survival being the very first level, working up through security and social status, and academics is way up at the top. And each one of the steps has to be taken care of before the next. If you're choking to death and you can't get air, you're not worried about any other level on that ladder of achievement.
It's not enough to just bring in an assembly to a school and have the kids say, oh, bullying's bad and you shouldn't do it. What we're really trying to get at here is an environmental change in a school, a cultural change, where bullying is not acceptable and where it's everyone's responsibility to stop.
My 6th grade teacher sat me down, and besides just giving me detention or lunch duty, she would of course give me detention after school, but she sat with me and talked with me. She was the only teacher to ever just sit down and just talk and want to know what my motives were, what was the point of all the bullying. And I never had a good answer for her. And she made me sit there every day for about 2 months after school until I had a good answer for her. And finally, just realizing how hurtful it was, there was no point to it anymore.
From the classroom to the boardroom, bullying exists, either to us or around us every day. The result, low morale, complacency, lack of productivity, even causing health-related issues. Bullying, there are organizations who ignore it and organizations who address it. And the difference in the long term, a satisfied, loyal, and successful workforce versus high turnover, wasted training efforts, and dysfunctional tasking, bullying is always destructive.
Most bullies that I've seen, they're not aware of the impact that they're having. And because of that, a lot of people are not willing to confront the bully. That's what upsets me the most, is that the human side of all this, people are not assertive enough to actually confront bullies.
Well, I think that there's the secondary gain to bullying is that you get what you want. And when then that becomes that pattern for you, is I know that if I do these things, I'm going to get what I want. Then as I get older and I go into, whether it's college and then later into my career, I know that bullying got me everything I wanted when I was a kid. So I can still use that to bully other people to get raises. I can bully my employees. I can bully customers at times.
I look at it as intimidation. I think the person that does the bullying is probably not satisfied with himself for some reason, and for whatever reason he feels he needs to act out, wants to control a situation or change the behavior of other people. But probably the key word I would use is intimidation. Many times maybe for their own personal gain, or certainly to the detriment of the other person.
Within the workplace environment, part of what happens is that managers don't necessarily have the training that they need to have to be good managers. And sometimes what we do is we tell people that they're leaders, but we've not defined what good leaders look like. And so what they do is they fall back on some pretty classic kind of intimidation approaches and that threatening and coercive aspect. We have a lot of education around things like sexual harassment and hostile work environment, but there's other things that happen that aren't meeting those criteria. That you have that administrator who knows things that are going on within the company that all of the employees should be aware of because it would help them to succeed, but because that manager was trained under someone who said, no, the one with the most secrets has the most power and they win. So then we keep secrets. Well, that to me is a form of bullying because it sets someone else up to fail.
In that boss-subordinate relationship where there is some sort of bullying going on, oftentimes the effects of that are really not that obvious because it goes subterranean. People tend to hold it in, but whenever there's stress and anxiety, it's got to come out some way. And we all know, just in any kind of human interaction, when somebody feels stress or they feel anxiety, that's where things like drugs, alcohol, any sorts of ways to deal with that stress. Because oftentimes an employee, they feel like, well, that's my boss. I can't talk back to them. They hold all the strings over my paycheck and so forth. So they hold that in. But it's just the physical nature of stress. It has to come out somewhere.
So how we as administrators, how we as managers and leaders go about keeping our teams involved. One of them, we always talk about an open door policy, but what does that mean? Does that mean that you can come in and really talk to me and say, you know, Chip, I'm having some issues with you or I'm having some issues with some things here and I want to talk about it? Or does that mean that you come in, you raise an issue, I get to cuss you out for a while and shame you a little bit and send you on your way?
You know, I think that a business certainly suffers costs, or they don't attain what they're looking for, either financial results or building a solid foundation, if they don't hold in check that the type of behavior that we're talking about, bullying or intimidation. And what it results in is you don't have teamwork typically. And if a company doesn't have teamwork and they don't have trust and they can work together as one team, then their financial results are not going to be the same. And financial results are certainly one part of it, but a big part of it is the rewards that the employees themselves get. And that is really about somebody wanting to come to work every day. And you want to come to work in a place that you enjoy working there. And if you know, number one, that you've got an opinion and you're not going to be bullied by somebody, that you do have a voice, somebody cares about you, and all of those things are important, and I think that's why companies should focus on it. It's really about building a team to lead the company, not having a dictatorial person, whether well-intended or just the way they grew up, where they're a bully.
from a leadership perspective, I value all of the input of my employees. I may not always agree with their input, but I need to hear their input. And I'm very much about, and it's tough sometimes for agencies to want to do this, I like to sit my staff down and get input from all of them. Ultimately, I have to make the decision of what direction of travel we're going to go, but I need them to know that they're valued, that I hear their input. I'm going to take parts of it.
And we've been out to that job. That project going pretty well for you?
We have also, as a company, felt the need to address how do we get people to feel comfortable with reporting incidents that they've seen or witnessed. And we have what many companies do, and it's a hotline. People can be anonymous, but they can report behavior that is not suitable to the culture of our company. Certainly is not conducive to the growth and development of the company or perhaps their own personal careers. So we make it very, very comfortable for the people to complete a reporting issue of a violation, whether it's intimidation or somebody's stealing, gosh forbid, on the company, from the company, anything like that. We have a hotline that opens the door, once again, so that people know they have a voice, and in this case, it can be anonymous.
The other thing that I find is that when businesses have failure, we have a tendency to want to blame the worker. The ones below us, it's their fault. They failed. They didn't work hard enough or fast enough, or they weren't smart enough. And we get into that part of it. And the reality of it is what I tell my employees is, any of the staff that work for me is, we'll try this. You have this idea, we will try it. If it succeeds, I'm going to sing hallelujah to the skies about what you did, because it was your input, your idea. If it fails, my job as a leader is to say, you know what, that didn't work. And I take responsibility for that.
It is enough for me to work on this issue to know that there are kids that wake up every day scared to go to school. And we should be committed to changing this for those kids.
Social change doesn't happen overnight. And there's no one single program or one single strategy that's going to take care of that. But we are all responsible. And while I can't change the world by myself, I can maybe change my world.
I helped someone that was being bullied because I felt it wasn't right, and I told the bully to stop, and they said that they wouldn't stop, so I went and told the teacher.
As long as you have that love and support from everyone around your personal circle, that's all you're going to ever need. And I wish I could tell my younger self this.
Me having something else to do and something else to look forward to got my mind completely off of what anybody else had to say or think.
Being able to communicate with the parents on a regular basis about what's happening per child.
We must be ambassadors of love to one another, and that will be contagious within our communities, within our society.
Individuals, companies, everybody has a social responsibility to step up and in some way, whatever way that they can contribute, to do so. Whether it be better understanding the depth of a problem, contributing their time, or perhaps it's, if they're able financially.
It's a tough thing, because I think that, again, people come from this place that it's not my business. And yet, to me, when you see someone else being victimized, it's always our business. It's my business to step in any time that I see someone hurting. And so I think getting that message out to people that it's part of our roles as being humans, not being, you know, an American or anything, but just being a human is that I take care of other people, and that I help to tend to them if I am able to.
If we just get back to one of the basic tenets of our lives, the golden rule, treat others as you would like to be treated yourself.
You might relate to something you've seen in this program that reflects one of your own experiences. Can bullying be stopped? Probably not. But we hope we have, in some way, enlightened your interest in becoming a part of the solution. Don't be a bystander. I'm Tom Simplot, and thank you for watching.